Hey everyone, this is Sean and this is an adventure in oil trading. Today is 1919, 2019. So today was a interesting day, I'll say that. It's Wednesday, so it's oil inventory day. And I really started off on the wrong foot because last week being a holiday week, and I don't know why this happened, but it's just something, I guess it's just a brain short, but I've seen so many oil inventory days, and I know they're at 10:30 Eastern. But last week, because of the New Year, they were at 9 on Friday. So I had it in my mind that that today that it was at 9, and so I thought that I had another half hour, and I was looking at in a couple trade setups, and it did end up affecting me somewhat negatively, I would say, just because I think because the expectation wasn't there, and it it's a little bit hard for me to admit that I did that, and but it's good because this journal is for me to be completely open and honest. And if I'm keeping things from being talked about, then I'm losing the benefit of that. And so it's important that I honestly discuss all of the issues. But to me, I know I can be very hard on myself, and people tell me that a lot, but it's also a mechanism to improve. Because if I don't criticize and take a hard look at the things that I don't like or that need improvement, it's hard to improve. So this is a fairly objective one that I can say that just a complete amateur move. And fortunately, I didn't have just a completely disastrous day. It started out pretty badly with three lost trades, 825 and 828 right into the inventory numbers, and then a loss trying to pick a bottom after 4 minutes after. And I think somewhat out of frustration because of what I had done on the prior two trades. So anyway, results say 5 ticks for the on the day, 11 trades. So after commissions and costs, I'm actually right at break even. So actually probably a few dollars in the hole. But as it goes, tick wise, thanks to that one really nice trade. And I've said this several times before. It seems that I continue to do a pretty good job of reading context, the context of where I'm picking my trade locations. And this was very close to recovering and having a very nice day. And the issue for me is now I feel like I'm trading fearfully. And I think this is one of the obvious differences between live and demo, because I feel like especially my 10th and my 11th trade locations were excellent. They were both good for nearly 20, 30, 40, 50 ticks. And I feel like on demo, a lot of the days when I've started poorly, I was able to get back on the horse really well and continue to execute. But the issues that I seem to be having, especially today, is that I'm just managing trades too tightly and getting stopped out, and then watching them continue on to my targets. So after the inventories, I mean, you could say my 7th trade was good. I got back right on and picked a really good trade location there. But I don't know if I'll go through all of the trades, but first of all, I'm going to go through price action and what we were looking at. You can see it was a very large up day, but before that, we had moved up above, coming into the day before today. We were just bumping right up into this, and I think I had said that if we get above these, we'll likely come up and test this. Well, we blew right through that and came back up and went all the way up to this VPOC right here. So now we can see where we are again after meeting some resistance here at this level, this 50 level, right around here. We tested this a couple times, and then now we've just blown right through it. The funny thing now is that now we're right back up into this balance area that we were stuck in for about almost 2 weeks before. So who knows what will happen. But so nice range day. Lots of, volume was pretty good, and the range was nearly from 49.68 all the way up to 52.73. So 300, just about 300 ticks from bottom to top. So coming into the morning, when I was looking at kind of this balance area, but what had happened in the overnight session, we had this large imbalance move up here, consolidation here, more imbalance up. We get so in the morning when I came to the charts, I was kind of being in this chop, and I was in a very uncomfortable chop consolidation area. And the thing about trading as well, sometimes one of the biggest things is just sitting on your hands and doing nothing. And it's hard to do that when you're just staring at price action for over 2 hours with nothing happening, just bouncing back and forth between a 20-30 tick range. And that's a crucial thing. So expectation when I was sitting in this balance is what's going to happen. We are either going to obviously go back down here to push and test down, retrace some of this balance zone and come back down into this area, or we'll push through into the high and likely see another large imbalance move up. That was the latter, which what happened. But on the smaller time frame, you can see this very clearly. I was at the charts from about 6, where we had this first imbalance move up here, and then we just chopped and chopped and chopped, and in this very tight zone from about 29 down to about 09, so really about a 20 tick zone. And I did end up taking a couple of trades. 630, you can see the 630 area, and on a 1 minute it's even more obvious what we're looking at. It wasn't just a random trade, but we did come back down and test the kind of this lower area and get a nice little push up, and I took that off at 7. You can see, anywhere in here it's good for from 16 to about 29, so there's not a lot of room in there. But if you knew you were going to be in this, that was still fairly early. I didn't know we were going to continue to chop around for a couple of hours, but if you knew that was the case, which I guess nobody really knows, because until it becomes a tight choppy zone, consolidation, you don't know. But to take that off into these highs, but again, that's only 10. You'd be good for maybe 10, 12 ticks. And then I tried again, but once we test above this high here and fall through, that's a first indication that it's going to have some trouble. And you can see also what happened. I go back and try kind of start putting my investigator hat on and trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And what I did start noticing is what I see, these large chunks of volume, like these chunky bits of volume here. And then we get this imbalance move up. And then we get this large volume stepping in again, these large chunks of volume stepping in here again. To me, what this looks like is large sellers trying to position for very large positions for the day. And the reason I say that is because, well, if large sellers are trying to accumulate and build a position, they're likely to accumulate, push the other side of the market up higher, and then if they're selling, well, might as well, if the market goes up, they're getting a better price. So they push the market up short term and start accumulating again, and that's what continued to happen all the way into here. And look at this. This was just the massive volume coming in here. There's over 10,000 contracts, and this was a big red flag. But look at the price chopped around here from about an hour and a half before it moved at all, and that's tough to sit through sometimes. 701. You can see I tried again. I'm guessing that's probably about right here. We get this nice little push down below the previous lows and a rejection. So my expectation is at that time is that we will get some kind of either a test to this other side of value or a push in an imbalance. Hopefully, I had marked this high volume on the large daily composite up to 5160. That would have been my short term first trouble area, and didn't take another trade until 8:25, and this is when I really had the kind of like that brain short that really messed me up. And it wasn't, with that accumulation strategy in mind as well, what I continued to see, oh, I apologize, but on the print chart, for example, this really spoke to me of this is just massive absorption. I mean, why is somebody sitting on the book and just absorbing 11,000 contracts? And again here, another 32 in this chunky volume. And this really spoke to me to shorts. And you say, well, why in the hell did I take 3 longs here? 825. And what happened, it was just, I was really looking for a very short-term trade. We couldn't break down, and there was large volume above here sitting. So I was really looking for just a short-term scalp to test into that large volume around the 50 area. So I'm just looking to trade in here and back up through this. And it was really actually quite foolish looking at it now. Not just because of the result, because my context through all of this, witnessing all of this volume, if buyers are not likely to be accumulating large positions up here, and especially with inventory numbers coming in less than an hour, what is that likely? The story is likely is that sellers are positioning to take this market lower initially, at least. Maybe that's all nonsense. Maybe that's not true at all. But that's what the order flow and the volume says to me. So 825, I try again, and then 828. So that's right in here, 825, and then 25 I get. It doesn't break this high side and takes me out again down through here. And then I realize quickly that inventories are on, and then we get this massive. So I miss positioning because I'm not going to trade the inventories. You can see this is what happens. Completely there's no liquidity at all, and we just get the big smackdown from that short position. So that fits the story that I was looking at. But you say, well, why the hell were you taking longs? And that was a very short kind of scalpy type setup, hoping to flush this, because I also thought that we might get another small little push to see if there's going to be further accumulation above these highs. That didn't exactly happen, and I thought I had an additional half hour. So again, no excuses, total bonehead amateur move, and it's okay. These things happen. Fortunately, I came out of today whole, and 834 came in, saw some pretty decent volume coming in on the footprint as well as Bookmap, and you can see kind of maybe right around here. This is, it's not that significant, but it's really not that significant at all. It's chunky volume, but it's not significantly higher. It's not real large absorption. But that's the problem sometimes too. I'm watching this footprint and I'm watching Bookmap, and I see things that are not significant, and I make way too much significance than there is. And every little fake out, every little smack down, I see it as a reversal. So, and you can see that was right in here, and this large volume came in. But not that good of a valid setup, especially when you're dealing with price coming down. There was one other thing supporting along in this location, and that is this large demand zone from where this imbalance came from. So I'm not saying it was a bad trade because it resulted in a loss. You can see 5 seconds I got ripped out of that trade. I didn't wait for confirmation quite long enough, obviously, and it was a valid setup based on what I'm looking for. A trade back to this demand zone, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So it's better to definitely wait for some kind of confirmation. So at that point, I'm well in the hole. Looking at this being 6 trades in, 3 break-evens, 3 losses, not feeling mentally very, very good, but I'm still focused, and I'm still looking for setups, trying to execute on my edge. So I see price come down, and we test down into this area, which is fairly, this is significant because you can see to the left we have all of this structure here, and that's exactly where buyers start coming in, and this is where they step in again under this previous consolidation area. And so I get one, the low is put in here, low is put in here again, and then we test below for the final failure. And you can see that's right where here is this setup here is. And when we get this push down, it is an aggressive push, but there is very little interest by sellers below this. So this seems, I would call this more of like an exhaustion reversal here. And let's see, I have my, it's nice to have this spreadsheet open as well. 5067, so you can see kind of where I was very aggressive. I wanted to be right above this volume. I didn't want to get stuck below it, because if you get stuck down here and you get too aggressive, then it's very easy that there's going to be a continuation. So I took a little more risk, 67 with my stop down below here. So 8 ticks, I'm pretty comfortable with that, and it worked out very nicely. And where was my target? My target was into these bar lows, this previous consolidation that we sat in through the morning. And you can see that's exactly where we went to before. There was a pretty decent reaction. I took it off at 50.98, I believe, just in front of that round number, that 51 round number, because there's often there can be a pretty violent reaction, especially around a high liquidity news event. So it worked out very nice. I'll take 31 all day. It's a nice trade. It saved my butt today on my trading. And then I'll go through. I had some other really nice attempts that just didn't work out. And at 9:24, pretty much all of my trades for the rest of the day are short attempts. And unfortunately, I was not able. I looked in this area when we balanced and we came back above and we're holding price in this area. I just didn't quite have a good setup, and I also was a little bit hesitant to trade right into this supply, kind of the scene of the crime where inventory numbers were announced. Obviously that wasn't the case at all. What happened? We ripped everybody's face off and all the way up to 52.58. But so 9:24, that was kind of in, I was definitely early. Way early. I tried to take into this area, I suppose. Yeah, into this area. So before the breakout. 9:24. Yeah. So I can't say, and I don't think I'm going to even spend any time on that. I think it was probably around this area here, thinking that this was a failure and we were going to come back down to continue. So I was just wrong on that one, but fortunately I got my risk off. So 9:56, this is getting closer. Now this is a pretty decent try here. Unfortunately, I had nothing up here against around the high of day. It just went up there exhausted and just fell back down to earth very quickly. There were no multiple tests. There wasn't a whole lot that I could do to get on that. So 9:56. That's around this area when we came back in and tested this where these sellers stepped in previously, and to see if they were still currently there in the market. And let's see if I can get there really quickly. 9:56. So you have once after the high of day is made, you have sellers stepping in here and here before that high of day were met. And that's what I'm trading into this high, for this to hold and for this to fail back down. Unfortunately, this is what I got stuck in, is this last final push up. And I don't think it's bad how I managed this trade at all. I just my timing was off a little bit. So we get one more spike up to either trap any more longs that are looking for the continuation higher, and before the fall back down. So that was just being a matter of timing. Not great, not much I could do. And then 10:01 I tried again, and this is the one that is slightly frustrating because I nailed it as far as context read about what was about to happen, and that was after this one that previously had taken me out. So 10.01, I see this spike, and now I'm playing this failure. 10.01. The problem with this trade is that 52.32, I didn't have the best price. 52.32 is right about here, and 45 above this high is just not real comfortable for me, and it's larger of a stop than I am normally comfortable with. I try to be in the 10 or under range, and I find that my trades that I execute well and that are my winners, I don't need to take that much heat anyway. So I don't need to take 15 ticks of heat and then see that it go in my favor. Usually I take 5, 10 or less, and then they work out. So 32 was fairly aggressive. You know, I didn't know that this spike wasn't going to come up, and then because if I take this way up here, we easily could hold this level, come back up to test the highs again, and then that's a full loss. So for this, on this time, it was better for me to get a little more confirmation. I want to kind of be into a test below this volume and have that hold and go off. So unfortunately, what happens is I took this off very early, and 9, so 32 after this, right around here, this push down here. 32, or maybe I'm actually, excuse me, I apologize, 32. I don't enter until 10.01. Yeah, so this is a good example of me just trying not to lose, because price never came back to 32. Really, after this, it came back up to the tick here, and then it's so embarrassing when I look at this, but it's so good that I do these reviews because I can see it so much more clearly. I couldn't have had a better entry. 32 here, and I get this push down on this bar, and one more tiny blip up, and you can see it. It's hard to see on the footprint chart, but on this you can see price comes down and then just comes back right up to my entry. And then if I would have held through this, just given it the tiniest bit of space, it's good all the way to my target, 50 ticks below. My target wasn't 50 ticks below, but my target was at least to come down and test this untested bar low at 13, but back down to the 01 area. I think my target actually was 01, so 30 plus ticks. So that's why this journal really is invaluable, because I can see, I can't fake that and say that I managed that well. I did not manage it well. It was a great entry, 32. I nailed the timing perfectly, and then I just got scared and was trying not to lose, and the bottom fell out, and I watched it go 50 ticks without me. Unfortunate. That's not going to be a profitable strategy long term. If I continue to trade like that, it's going to be a big problem for me, and I'm going to not have these days where I get to recover. How do I manage that? I need some kind of better rule to give my trade a little room to work. I need a real rule as to, in this case, I likely should not have de-risked until at least a test down into here, into these bar lows here. And you can see that would have been, I mean, not just in this case, but I think that's a more reasonable, and usually I would want to see these bar lows at least tested below, because if this tests below this bar low, then we'll know that either sellers aren't present really to put additional pressure on here, or the stops aren't being hit. This goes down to the tick and comes up. You see that sometimes where it'll come down to the tick and come back up and take you out. So if you de-risk here, it's somewhat risky, but I think I would be more accepting of a break even on here if I had de-risked at this point. But de-risking on this tiny little push right after I entered is just, there's no reason, just trying not to lose. And that's a mistake. This is absolutely an error trade. And you can see I paid the price. So price never came back. Highest price after that was 26, giving me plenty of room with my stop break even. And then the bottom dropped out. And at this point, I'm just good to watch this, and hopefully these levels hold. And that's the kind of trade you want to get on. unfortunately. So that's probably a 30 tick missed opportunity right there. 1030. Once again, I'm probably slightly frustrated that had happened. And I try to get back on this again, and that's about right here. So 1030, we get this push up in these tests of this area here, and it seems like sellers are still very strong. So I'm looking to short this back down to test this low here, ideally back into this 68 area, this micro consolidation here where this push came from. Price never got there, but once price came down, tested these lows and didn't find additional interest, I would have taken that off at certainly break even, but most likely I would have locked in at least 10 on that trade. So it's hard to say what would have happened, but as you can see, price came back up, and I wasn't in that trade too long, 829. So I entered at 1030, and I'm out by 1040 on this. On this push back up. So this is also questionable. I don't call this an error or a bad trade at all. I think that after taking this at 1030 and having this come down and test these, all the way back up here after, you can also see that I did have 12 ticks of favorable excursion before I was taken out of that trade. So that one's a little more reasonable. It made a really solid push down, and just price came back up one more time to take me out here. Not here. No. I guess this is when it took me out. But no, that's not. At 10:30, so I'd be out. It's hard to see on these footprints because it's a point and figure. It's not a time-based chart. So 10:30, I'm in here 10:30. So push down to here. See it. So this is a solid push down. So I would really want to see price hold this and continue, which it didn't do. So when I get taken out around here at 10:40, I'm okay with that. And you can't necessarily, we can say what my price was on this, 52.01. So I'm buying right at that hold number, right around here, hoping that this, with an expectation, because we get a push above, down, below, that this whole number will hold to come back down and continue filling in this imbalance space, this imbalance here. We want this. The expectation would be that some of this imbalance will be filled in, and that is what happened. I just didn't get my longer term expectation was that we would at least come down and fill in this space here. So that's the story of the day. 11 trades. This is called a make your broker rich day because I didn't get rich. I made nothing and he did all right with no risk. So I gotta do a better job. I can't miss oil inventory numbers and have the times wrong, and I have to get a handle on seeing more clearly my de-risk zones. But not only my de-risk zones, they must be consistent, because if I can't execute on this strategy consistently, I am going to have consistently inconsistent results, as we see today. So thank you for listening. Let's call it a day, and I look forward to another day tomorrow, onward and upward.